Valorant fans, what's going on? My name is Light and today I'll be bringing you the top 10 things about Valorant that I think Riot is doing right for competitive play. We are going to be taking a look at aspects for both pro play and solo queue, so let's start this video off with number 10. This is in no particular order, by the way. Number 10, shooting mechanics. If you've ever played Counter-Strike, you can tell that Valorant is going to share a similar style of shooting. The first thing that comes to mind that we can see is that you need to be stopped in order to shoot accurately. Basically, every clip that we see where someone is shooting, that person's standing still. Moving in Valorant will make the bullet spread a lot wider and random, so you need to be stopped in order for your bullets to go where you're aiming. This is a very high risk, high reward type of gunplay, as being accurate will result in more kills, meaning more fights won, meaning more rounds won, meaning more games won. But it also puts you at a risk because you need to be standing still to do that, making you more vulnerable. Now it looks like Valorant will have some sort of acceleration to their movement. Acceleration is the amount of time it takes for your player to go from a standstill to their highest speed possible. And the highest speed possible in Valorant, just like in Counter-Strike, will be with your knife out, running, without jumping or anything. I am ignoring strafing and b-hopping. However, it looks as if the acceleration in Valorant is going to be similar to Counter-Strike, so this is something that Overwatch and Siege players would have to get used to. Overwatch has very little to no acceleration because you can see that you can change directions very quickly with almost no delay, meaning Overwatch has a very high acceleration. But if you look at Counter-Strike, the acceleration is a lot slower compared to Overwatch. In the end, it's a skill that will easily separate the good and the bad players. People who master this skill will be able to shoot more accurately quicker than the other player, and this can result in that player even beating a sniper at a long range duel. But this is just for first bullet accuracy. What about the next 10 shots after that? Well, I'm glad that it was confirmed by Henry G, who was an ex-CSGO pro player, that the weapons in Valorant will have their own unique spray pattern. Having a spray pattern eliminates the randomness while shooting in the game. Knowing where your bullets are going to go and therefore being able to control where those bullets are going to go takes skill. If the spray was random, there would be literal spray and pray. Having the spray patterns for all the guns down will help separate the good and the bad players a little bit further, and based off of the spray transfers I've seen in Counter-Strike from good players, I'm excited for this. But what about the abilities? How will the abilities affect gunplay, you ask? Well, if you are one of the players that thinks this game is going to be like Overwatch, I'm sorry, but you're dead wrong. And here's why. In Overwatch, you can either shoot while using abilities or shortly after using one, for the most part, and abilities are unlimited and on short cooldowns. In Valorant, you only get one of your 4 abilities for free each round. The other 2 abilities have to be bought, and the ultimate has to be charged up with kills and orbs. The abilities that do have cooldowns are on a longer cooldown to prevent battles being won or lost by ability usage alone, which allows for the game's gunplay to shine. Let's take Jett and Tracer for example. 2 characters with dashes that have a kit built to outplay enemies. With Tracer, first of all, her dashes are up like every 2.5 seconds, okay? Not only that, but you can shoot right after using one of those dashes. With Jett, we see that her gun gets holstered, and after the dash, there is a slight delay before being able to shoot again. This dash is the ability that Jett gets for free each round. It only has 1 charge and doesn't come back off a cooldown, but only after securing 2 kills. The reason this is good is because it keeps the game focused on shooting. Jett's dash is more of a way to help her escape or reposition quickly rather than dash around her enemy, making her hard to track down and kill. Riot's goal here was to make a first-person tactical shooter, and I think the way they're implementing abilities into this game is perfect. Number 9, the economy system. This is the one thing that I really loved about Counter-Strike. If all the players in Counter-Strike were able to buy any gun and equipment they wanted each round, I think it would make the game more boring. I feel like if you win rounds, there should be something that keeps you ahead, kind of like how gold works in League, without making it impossible for the losing team to come back. This is also why CSGO has a loss bonus and why Valorant will as well. Now this is not to say that you will lose every round where you can't buy a fully. Let's take a look at my most favorite round that I've ever watched in Counter-Strike Pro Play. This was the first game in the 2018 Boston E-League Major. Cloud9 was playing FaZe Clan and C9 was on an eco round, meaning they had to spend a lot less money than FaZe. C9 decided to go with a couple of pistols and 2 of the cheaper sniper rifles, while FaZe had 3 rifles, 2 SMGs, and a lot of utility. Early in the round, C9 was able to get 2 tags with the scouts, putting both Olafmeister and Guardian at 30 HP, and a little later, Tarek was able to get a nice tag on Terrain from the catwalk position. This puts 3 of the FaZe players within killing range of 2 bullets from a pistol. Let's see how the rest of the round plays off.
Angle from Tarek is a dentist on a B bomb site and he's looking to pull teeth, but he's using crude instruments to do it. There's another tag. Surely there's no way FaZe can do this. They've got to be running to their doom. These scouts are going nuclear. Tariq has done so much damage and Guardian's got to run away, but he can't. They don't get a single kill in that anti-force fire.
So having those players that low was able to make Automatic secure the kills with his pistol while he was hiding right where they needed to jump out of. Since you can't shoot accurately while moving, and this includes jumping, FaZe could not do anything that round, and C9 took the win while not losing a single player. Number 8. Pre-round buying phase. Riot has set it up so that during the duration of the buying phase, you can walk around on a certain portion of the map and buy your weapons throughout. I like how they set this up because it's going to allow for some pretty cool map control battles. This is one thing that I loved watching Counter-Strike Pro play for. Watching two teams fight for, let's say, banana control on Infernal, it makes a round very interesting to watch, especially once you get a team like Astralis, who is so good at using utility that it made them win over 80% of their 112 games on that map in the last 2 years. This is why I also think sports like football are amazing. In football, it's the delay, it's the pause, it's the suspense before each play that makes it so incredible to watch. It gets you so excited, and I could just imagine how awesome it must feel to watch a fast take of a site from the best teams in Valorant. I don't know what the meta is going to be, and I don't know if what we just talked about will be an aspect of the game at all. But I think my prediction is pretty accurate based off of what we see in the gameplay footage, and I'm excited to see how players will use this buy period. Number 7. In-game voice comms. This is huge. Not so much for pro play, because we know that they would have some sort of in-game voice comms regardless, but this is perfect for solo queue. I was worried that Riot would try to do some sort of in-game ping system like they have in League, but with a game that has so many aspects to it and is so fast-paced, you need voice comms. When I was really grinding Counter-Strike, I would actually study on how to make good voice comms to my team, and that would include downloading and listening to tournament team speaks to see how pro teams communicated to each other. Even if I was the only one on my team talking, I would still make callouts because I know a lot of people still listen even though they never activate their mic. Having voice comms is good because even being able to call out, let's just say for a Sova player, to get vision around a corner for you is a lot more easily communicated over voice than typing or pinging. If you have the chance to listen to voice comms for any pro team across any games, you can see that they're talking constantly but with short and useful information. I know this is cliche, but communication is key to winning, and I'm glad to see voice comms. Number 6. Multiple bomb sites. Across all bomb plant and defusal type of shooters, we always almost see 2 bomb sites. This is good in a way because it forces the defenses to split up, but not so much that it makes it impossible to defend. Now it's already naturally harder to take over an area than it is to have control and defend it, so that's why we don't see 1 bomb site, because then the defending team would be at a great advantage. But what about having 3 bomb sites? This is what Riot will be putting into place with Valorant. Some of the maps will only have 2 sites, but the medium and bigger ones will have 3 sites, and that's confirmed. I think this is really good actually. Counter-Strike players are probably like, what the hell? But being a Counter-Strike player, I can tell you that this is going to be amazing for Valorant. Just think of a map like Nuke, Infernal, and Cobblestone. These are all maps where you can have very fast rotations, and that's what makes these maps some of the best and most entertaining to watch. Since a team can be attacking one site, then completely fall off of it and hit the other site very quickly, makes the game more fast-paced and skillful, and it really separates good teams from worse ones. This is why Astralis is able to dominate maps like Nuke. In 2018, Astralis had a 33-1 win record. That's 97% back in 2018, and in 2019 they had a 26-7 win record, which is a 76% win rate. They have very good use of utility and very quick in-game decisions based off of the info they gather throughout the round. In Valorant, if a team is good at using their abilities to the fullest and outsmart their opponent, they will be able to dominate maps with 3 sites. Now this is not to say that the defenders will have an impossible time defending. A huge strategy in Counter-Strike is to give the attackers the bomb site, let them plant. Once your teammates rotate over, you guys use your utility and retake as a team. This will also happen in Valorant as well. With 3 bomb sites, it's hard to tell where the spike is going to end up being planted, so giving a site in order to gather your team together will be a viable strategy. Number 5. Scoping in of the weapons. As we see in the gameplay footage, you are able to scope in with rifles. We haven't seen this with pistols or shotguns or SMGs yet, but I'm going to tell you why this will work and not make the game broken or Call of Duty like. Only other thing I could compare this to again is Counter-Strike. Since CSGO's release, and even before that, the game has only been using AKs and M4s. There was one meta shift back in late 2018 that reduced the price of the AUG and SSG. They were now only $50 more than the AK and M4, which made them financially a viable option with similar or better stats. This has made a lot of pros change over to these two guns because they were too broken to pass off. This led to the community complaining about these guns, which then led to some nerfs in both the price and stats. Now the AK and M4 are back to being the two popular choices, but people still buy the SSG and AUG because they had their eyes open to see that these two guns were good choices regardless. But what if you could scope in with all rifles? In Valorant, this is how it's going to be. In the footage so far, we see 3 out of the 4 rifles, and the 3 that we see can be scoped in. This is what's going to make it balanced. As long as there isn't an overpowered weapon, the scoping in of a rifle is fine, especially when all of them have the same capabilities. To make sure a game is balanced, it means that there isn't one item, one weapon, one character or ability that is so powerful that nothing can beat it. Number 4. MR12. This is how the round-based system is going to work. MR12 means that there's going to be a maximum of 12 rounds per side, and the team to reach 13 rounds first will win. If both teams reach a score of 12, it will either result in a tie or overtime if Riot plans to have that as a feature of online competitive play. I think this is good for both pro play and solo queue. I've noticed in Counter-Strike that a lot of players who just play the game for fun lose interest later on and they start throwing. This happens especially when your team is up by a lot. A lot of players think the game is won or lost at that point and they stop trying. I think shortening the length of a game in CS slightly would be good, and it's good to see that Valorant is going to have games with a total of 24 rounds maximum instead of 30. This will also work well with pro play. One thing that I like about League of Legends tournaments is that games could last anywhere between roughly 25 to 35 minutes. That is not a long time considering all the objectives in the game, but it allows for tournaments to be a best of 5 scenario. Since games in Valorant will be a little shorter, I would not be surprised if tournaments played are best of 5s. This allows for more consistent teams to show their stuff instead of losing their first game in a best of 3 and already be faced with elimination. Number 3. Easy to follow for spectators. With esports in general blowing up in today's society, it's important for people who have never seen the game to somewhat understand what's happening. When I first started watching Counter-Strike tournaments, this was way before I started playing, it took me about watching one tournament to fully understand how rounds are won, the objectives, some basic strategies, the maps, the length of the game, and basically what's happening on your screen. With a game like Overwatch and League of Legends, a person who has never played the game before will not understand a single thing. Even though Valorant will have abilities, it's not going to be as hard to follow. Abilities are there to assist you in getting a kill, and not there to secure you the kill. A lot of abilities in Valorant are more directed to crowd control. How enemies are killed are going to be with the guns, and the abilities aren't going to be spammable, so I think it's going to be pretty spectator friendly. When it comes down to anything that airs for entertainment purposes, whether it's radio, TV, streaming, YouTube, the things that keeps these going is money. One of the best ways to get money is advertising. To get advertisements on your platform, you need companies to pay you, and for companies to want to put their ad on, they need to see that people are going to view it. If no one is watching the game because they can't understand what's happening, then you have no viewers, which means no companies to buy ad space, which means no money, and then no platform to broadcast on. The doctor of streaming himself had something to say about this.
Look at this! No wonder nobody's watching this fucking game on TBS, because nobody knows what's going on!
And he has a point. If no one knows what's going on, they won't watch, and it will result in TBS, which is basically AT&T's television platform, not airing Overwatch games anymore because of the less money it makes them caused by lower viewership. If Riot wants Valorant to be a game that lasts for years and years like they stated, they needed to create something that won't be impossible to follow to allow for growth on other platforms outside of Twitch and YouTube. I think this game will be pretty easy to follow, no harder than someone watching, let's just say, football for the first time. Number 2, AntiCheat. This is pretty straightforward. No one likes a cheater, it makes the games less fun, wastes everyone's time, and will most likely result in a loss if the cheater's on the other team, or the game being ignored completely if the cheater's caught. I don't know too much about how AntiCheat works, but lucky for us, Riot put out a nice little article explaining their new type of anti-cheat. This chart was provided by Riot to explain the level of access an anti-cheat has to your computer. Basically, the closer to the center, the better it is. This also works the same for cheats, though. The closer to the center of the circle, the more the cheat or anti-cheat has access to your system, in basic terms. If an anti-cheat is operating on ring 2, but the cheat is on ring 0 or kernel, then the anti-cheat might not be able to pick up the cheat. In good news, Riot's new anti-cheat will be operating on kernel. This means that it will have direct access to all your processes and information on the computer. This is not to say that it's foolproof, but it is going to be very secure in detecting if someone's tampering with the game in any way. I wish I was able to provide more information on this matter, but I'm not going to take a programming course to understand how this works. Number 1. Can run on literal potatoes. Do you have an obsolete computer? Can't even run Fortnite? Well, you may be able to run Valorant. Riot stated that to make the game playable at 30 frames per second, all you need is an Intel i3 370M. You don't even need a graphics card, but that's for 30 frames and probably at the lowest resolution and settings. It makes the game playable, but this is not optimal for trying to play a game at a more competitive level. I would say 60 FPS is just enough because even I played the first 1,000 of my 1200 hours of Counter-Strike at around 60 frames, and I played on a very small team at a competitive level. So in my opinion, it's more than enough. That's the amount of frames I feel you need to at least be competitive. Having 144 frames won't make you go pro. However, if you want to be able to get 60 frames and have a smoother game experience, all you need is an Intel i3 4150 and a GeForce GT 730. The only difference 144 frames has over 60 frames is it gives you a smoother visual, and that is only paired with a 144Hz monitor. If you want your PC to be able to create those 144 frames, Riot says that you will need an Intel i5 4460 3.2 GHz and a GTX 1050 Ti. As far as operating systems, all you need is Windows 7, 8, or 10, and as far as RAM, it looks like with the info I have here, all you need is 4 GB. It doesn't say if it needs to be DDR3 or 4 or the speed of the RAM either. And that is it for the top 10 things Riot is doing right for competitive play in Valorant. Wait, what's this? Could it be? Yes, it is a bonus. This bonus is officially number 0 on the top 10 list, and that number 0 is that there will be 128 tick servers. Tick rate is how fast the server refreshes. In other words, how many times per second your PC will receive information from the servers. This means that Valorant servers will be refreshing 128 times per second, which creates a smoother game experience and better hit registration. CSGO competitive matchmaking runs on 64 tick, and since the game requires you to be so precise, this pushed third-party programs such as Faceit and ESCA to host their own games at 128 tick. It's pretty hard to feel the difference between 64 and 128 tick, but when you shoot a guy in the head and your bullet goes through him, just remember, if that was on a 128 tick server, that might have hit. This is just another thing Riot's doing to make the game run a little smoother and to be the future of gaming. If you want to be the best game on the market, you can't be doing what all the other games are doing. You have to be better. But that's it, guys. That was the top 10 things Riot's doing right for competitive play in Valorant. I know I could have talked about their netcoding, but to be honest, I don't know a single thing about that. And I'm pretty sure you don't want a guy who doesn't know anything about netcoding explain netcoding to you. But anyway, videos like this do take me a lot of time and effort to make, so please wash your hands and slap that subscribe button. It's completely free, and it does help me out a lot more than you think. My name is Light, and I will continue to shine the light for all those who might want to get involved in competitive Valorant tonight. Lights out.